Welcome to Breathe In, Scream Out, a podcast for feeling it all, one breath and scream at a time. I'm Katie Healy, your guide through this sacred mess called life. Here in this podcast, we'll feel everything. We'll cry, we'll laugh, we'll scream, and maybe scream again. Let's get into it. Welcome back for another episode of Breathe In, Scream Out. I'm your host, Katie Healy. Thank you for joining me for the first time. Thank you for coming back. Thank you for tuning into this solo episode all about Libra season, the Libra New Moon, the Aries Full Moon. We're going to get into that in a few moments here and how there's kind of a shift in the moon cycle since eclipse season. Whatever the hell that was, I'm certainly still recovering. But before we do any of that, I don't know that I've ever needed the sound, scream, sigh that we take during these episodes more than I have this week. So wherever you are, before we start talking and theorizing and sharing and experiencing all the energy of Libra, an Aries full moon, a Libra new moon, let's take a second to ground wherever we are and get into our bodies by making some sound, by taking up some space. So wherever you are, seated, standing, walking, just taking a moment, if you can, to close your eyes. Just feeling your seat or your feet beneath you. If eyes closed isn't an option for you, then just doing what you can to connect to your body with your breath, feeling your feet beneath you. Just taking a few moments here to notice. No need to adjust, manipulate, slow down. Just let your breath be in its natural cadence wherever it is. And we're coming out of a pretty potent, wild time. 2025 in general is that, but eclipse season. Even though it's just a span of about 6 weeks, you may feel like a completely different version of yourself. You may not still feel grounded in that new version. You may still be discovering what came up, what happened, what shifted. Just noticing whatever it is your body, your mind, your heart, your spirit is asking to release today. We're going to take a few breaths together. I'll guide us through those, but feel free to take all the time you need. Take a deep inhale through your nose. Exhale through your mouth. With each inhale and exhale, just imagining the exhale, some form of release, letting go, creating space. Another deep breath in. Another big breath out. This final round of breath, we'll make some sound if you feel called to. As always, I will make that sound into my hands, but if you've got a pillow, if it's just a big sigh, if you can scream out into the open space that you're in, take it, take up the space, use your voice, make it your own. We'll take a deep breath in. We'll let out some sound together on the count of 3. 1, 2, 3. Maybe you need to shake your hands, your legs, flutter your lips. I told you I needed that scream myself. And then just letting it all settle, be. That part of you that maybe wants to judge the sound that came out, that wants to fix, as I like to say, zip back up. Can you just let yourself be wherever you are now? Not where you were 10 seconds ago, 3 minutes ago, 3 weeks ago. Just allowing yourself to settle into whatever version of you you're carrying through your day today. Accepting it, sitting in it, making space for it. Just bring your attention back to your breath. Maybe a slightly deeper inhale, a slightly deeper exhale. And then when you're ready, maybe you wiggle a finger, a toe. Just start to flutter your eyes open if they're closed. Make your way back into your space, your energy, wherever you are. Okay, Libra season. So we are already in the thick of Libra season by the time this episode comes out, and we've already experienced our Aries full moon. So this might be a review, it might be new information, it might be something for you to chew on, marinate in as we move through this season. Libra season began on September 22nd and it ends October 22nd. Our Aries full moon was on Monday, October 6th. Our Libra New Moon will be on Sunday, October 21st, the day before Libra season ends. So we're going to talk a little bit about eclipse season, even though I'm still sifting my way through it, WTFing my way through it. What the fuck was that for me as a very mutable being? But because of eclipse season, there was 2 new moons in Virgo. And up until this point in the year, we were experiencing the new moon at the start of each new season. And then the full moon was about halfway through, 3 weeks into that season. So it was new moon, then full moon. But because of this switch and the fact that we had 2 new moons in in August and September in Virgo season, now it's switched in this latter half of the year. The full moon is going to come at the start of each season. So it's opposite sign. And then the new moon will come more towards the end. So even though we're in Libra season, it started on September 22nd, we're experiencing our full moon in Aries, its sibling sign, its opposite, its yin or yang first. So just a little switch there, which you might notice. I just think that's interesting, and it all depends on these cycles of the moon. And before we fully dive into Libra season is always an opportunity to explore balance, and even more so after the intensity of eclipse season. Eclipse season is only about 6 short weeks at a time. We'll have another eclipse season in Pisces season at the middle to end of February through the beginning of middle of March. So we'll come up against these lessons again in a different way this time when the new moon is in Pisces and the full moon is in Virgo. But again, I don't know about you and what part of your chart it was highlighting, whether you have prominent Virgo and Pisces placements, whether you don't, maybe you are a Pisces or a Virgo. But as I said in my last solo episode, that was all about eclipse season and Virgo season. There was a specific part of your chart, depending on your rising sign, that was really being highlighted during this eclipse. And as someone personally who has a lot of mutable placements, mutable is Virgo, Pisces, Sag, Gemini, I have them all. I'm still really getting my grounding. I am figuring out what the hell happened. And I know what happened, and I know what I came up against and am continuing to, right? Eclipse season ends, but the integration period does not. And that's why this Libra season can feel even more potent and important, because it's giving us the chance to take the lessons we learned in this eclipse Virgo season, Virgo new moons, Pisces full moon, whatever it illuminated for you, and then take the wisdom of Libra, the balance, the integration, the recalibration. So it's giving us a little gift here, whether you realize it that way or not. Sometimes it's even hard for me to see it as a gift, but eclipse season, every eclipse season is always an upheaval of something, and it can really rock our sense of self. It requires us, whether we're willing to or not, to surrender, to release, to transform. And the tighter we hold on and the tighter we resist, the more challenging it can feel. A lot of folks may have experienced some health issues during this Virgo eclipse season, this Virgo season that we just came through. Virgo rules the digestive tract. So if you were dealing with any issues in that regard, that could be why. I did hear a lot of people dealing with that, which I always find to be really interesting. But given that this past eclipse season was no joke, this Libra season feels, like I said, even more helpful, supportive, important. And every Libra season is always a chance to find our center. So Libra is an air sign and it is a cardinal sign. So just like we have those elements, air, fire, water, earth, we have those modalities. I brought these up before. It's when I referenced mutable, that I'm a very mutable person. I have all of those mutable placements. Libra lives in this pack of 4 of cardinal signs. So Libra and Aries are the siblings, the pair, the yin and the yang. And then also Cancer and Capricorn live in that pack as well. And all of the signs, all 4 of those signs, Aries is fire, Cancer is water, Libra is air, Capricorn is earth. I like to think of them, the modalities in general, and I've brought this up before, so forgive me if you've heard me share this, if I'm repeating myself, but I think of the modalities as seasons. So Aries is the start of spring, Cancer is the start of summer, Libra is the start of fall, Capricorn is the start of winter, and they often line up with the equinoxes or the solstice celebrations as well. So even though they are very different energies, very different elements, right? Someone who's a Libra might feel so opposite from an Aries. They're the siblings, though, the yin and the yang. They still, in many ways, share those commonalities of being the first, being the initiator, putting themselves out there first, wanting to do, act, change, to be at the forefront of an energy, of the season, of who they are. So even though they are very different, right? A Libra versus a Capricorn, a Cancer versus an Aries, they tend to embody that energy. And Libra is also ruled by Venus, which is the planet of love, which is the planet of materialism in some ways, which is the planet of what feels good, what feels loving, what feels nurturing, what feels luxurious. And that can invite in this energy as well, a more loving, fair, the scales, right? That's the symbol of Libra, the scales, the judgment, the fairness. And because especially, Libra season is always an opportunity to find our center, to rebalance, to reground, to recalibrate. But after an eclipse season, it is even more an opportunity for that. And one of my favorite thoughts, shares about balance, something we all crave, we're all striving towards, is that balance is an action. It is not a steady state of being. I'm going to let that sink in. It might piss you off a little bit. But I think we've been sold this idea that once you find balance, you have to be balanced in every part of your life, that every aspect of your life should be 50-50, even though that doesn't really exist, or 51-49, every relationship, every job, relationship to self, relationship to health, money, finances, spirituality, religion, whatever your wheel is. If you think of like this wheel of your life and how you want to live your life and what's important to you and the aspects of life that make up who you are and the life you want to live, we want everything to be perfectly balanced. That ego, our big, beautiful brain, our healthy ego that wants us to be balanced in every way. And not to piss you off, but that's just not real. It's not truthful. It's just not, I hate to say not reality, because you get to decide what is and isn't within your reality. But to some extent, it's the human experience to constantly be adjusting, shifting, kind of taking in what's happening around you, your balance with give and take, your balance with logic and intuition. It's less about having to be 50-50 with everything and continuously creating the awareness to check in with imbalances in your life, in your relationships, in your finances, without being overly critical, overly judgmental, overly harsh on yourself or other people. Libra is always striving for that balance. And I think the more we can embrace this idea as balance as action, not this steady state of being, right? And when you think about the scales, they're always slightly tipping. And there will be periods of time in our life where we will experience full balance in relationship, full balance in work, a healthy balance in our relationship to money and finances. Maybe someone's listening to this and rolling their eyes at me, and I can tolerate that. I can stand that thought or feeling, but I'm not saying that balance isn't possible at all. That's not what I'm saying at all. I'm actually saying, how can we shift our mindset around balance itself and see it as an action, not something that's passive, not something that requires us to give up parts of ourselves to people please, all those undertones of Libra, right? The beauty of Libra loves harmony, it loves balance, it loves pleasure, it loves being good with themselves, with other people, being in that balanced state, right? But the darker tones of Libra is the way we start to sacrifice ourselves. I've been reading more into this idea of like self-erasure. And when we are with someone, I know I've noticed this within myself, especially in my romantic relationships. When do I actually feel comfortable and safe with someone? And when am I dulling all the parts of myself to make myself more digestible, right? And Libra, the darker shades of Libra can be codependency, wanting to be good or right or just to a fault, avoiding manipulation. It's these parts of ourselves that when we go too far, again, out of balance. And what I love in particular about Libra and Aries energy, Libra is the 7th sign of the zodiac. Aries is the 1st, right? And Aries, I like to say, Aries is the first sign of the 12. I like to sometimes compare Aries to like a newly born baby, a new human being, vessel, little earth angel baby. And the first 6 signs are our first experience of a lot of that energy, right? And if Aries is I am, me, Libra, it's opposite. It's 7th sign, which rules the 7th house of relationships. Libra is we. Libra is I balance. So Aries traditionally rules the 1st house of self and identity, and Libra rules the 7th house of partnership. And to be human, there is no way to avoid these parts of ourselves, self and other, no matter what we do. Even if you're like, I am not a people person, I don't like other people, I don't care to be around other people, there is no truly avoiding other. And it's such an ingrained part of who we are. So even if you're listening to this saying, I have no Libra placements, I have no Aries placements, even though I do surround myself with a lot of folks with Libra and Aries placements, some of my besties, Shelby, Aaliyah, Issa, my Libra risings, many men I have known or currently know, just one, have Libra risings or have been Libra suns. They are charismatic, they're charming, they're beautiful. I have my theory, if you have Leo or Libra in the big 3, I do not, so I could say this confidently. You are beautiful. Aesthetically, inside and out, you radiate beauty, that Venus energy, right? So what I love about these seasons, whether we're in Aries or Libra, and they both give us the opportunity to explore both, we're constantly learning to, or exploring, or coming up against our relationship to self and other. And Libra season, especially post Eclipse portal, is a really powerful time to take stock, to review, to say, okay, after 6 weeks of upheaval, change, surrender, transformation, I'm finding my footing again. What a beautiful opportunity to, even if you're not quite sure who you're showing up as, to figure out who you are right in this very moment and what feels like balance to you. To be attuned enough to what feels just, what feels fair, what feels right in your body, in your energy, in your life, and make the adjustments that are required. Is it always fun? No. And I love to have fun. I've got clown blood, Sagittarius sun, Gemini rising, please. But if we can change this mindset around either or, this or that, action or, being in this constant state of balance, if we can just open ourselves up to what's possible, how we can shift, how we can change and attune, there are so many lessons that lie in this season. Again, maybe I'm a broken record, but not just because of this Libra season. We do that in any season, but because we're coming off of these eclipses. And we start off Libra season, or we started off Libra season, and the first thing that we have is this full moon. Again, there's been this shift where we're full moon before new moon now. And the Aries full moon that just passed us on Monday, this episode comes out 2 days after. Aries energy, so if we think of Libra as collective, we, collaboration, if it's not good for all of us, it's not good for any of us. How do we make this fair and just and right? Aries is a fire sign. Fire and air, they feed each other. Also, this cardinal energy, this first initiator, even more so because it's the first sign of the zodiac. And Aries is ruled by Mars. Some of you might know that as the planet of war. 2025 is I'm just going to let that sit. You already know what I'm thinking, probably. It's also, more importantly, the planet of action, of desire. Aries energy is the first, quite literally. It is courageous, it is determined, has this warrior-like energy. And we all have we all have a Mars placement, just like we all have a Venus placement. Libra is ruled by Venus, Aries is ruled by Mars. So if you know your Mars placement, you can think about, how do I take action in my life? What do I desire? Now, I am an Aries Mars. And this, again, shifts into my theory that, thank God I have a Capricorn stellium, because if not, I would be in jail. Aries is at home in Mars. So for me, taking action, my desires, my fire can really be at the forefront of sometimes how I move through these aspects of my life. And Aries energy asks us to embody this pure life force energy. It is the first sign. It is the original. It is the one. It is the reminder that there is only one you. Yes, even if you have a twin, an identical twin. Okay? I said it. There is literally only one you. And if Libra is balance is an action, not a steady state of being, this saying, this phrase, this thought. For Aries, my phrase, saying, thought is ask for forgiveness, not for permission. Aries does not need your permission. Aries does not need your validation. Aries does not need for you or anyone else to be ready for what they have to offer. And high vibe, in its most realized sense of self, Aries energy is grounded in humble confidence. It is confident, but not in an arrogant way. It is humbly grounded in that energy. It is an inner knowing that radiates and shines through without arrogance. And I'm making these caveats because Aries can sometimes be one of those signs that people have a lot of opinions about. Fire signs, I get it. I am one, we're strong. But I think the most realized sense of self, this most evolved sense of Aries energy, is this strong sense of self-belief without arrogance, and that's possible. I think people confuse confidence and self-belief, and the line is so fragile in this world. Not because it's not possible for us. We have it more innately in us than we give ourselves credit for, but because there's so much going on around us that's a projection of that bullshit of what it means to be confident. And that's I could rant and rave about that, as you could imagine, but you know what it feels like, even if you've struggled with believing in yourself, with negative self-talk, like I certainly have and continue to, but you know what it feels like, even in a glimmer of a moment, to feel rooted and secure and confident in who you are, whether it's an idea you have or a talent that you're sharing with the world, a gift that you're giving others, an outfit you put on. Libra knows how to dress as well. I love a man with Libra placements. They know how to, I like something shiny. They look good. And Aries is the opposite of Libra, so it embodies that confidence to give that energy as well. But the lower vibration of Aries, which we're aware of around every full moon. It brings up the high vibe and the low vibe. And in a full moon, we want to release these parts of ourselves, which we all have, whether we're in Aries or have Aries placements or not. This lower vibrational energy of Aries that can be thoughtlessly aggressive or thoughtlessly impulsive or selfish. When Aries energy runs unchecked or lacks self-awareness, relationships with others can suffer because it's about me, 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 me. Now, there's a time and a place to be selfish. And I think a certain sense of selfishness, especially when you're trying to build a life of your dreams, free yourself of limiting beliefs or habits or people or places or things that no longer serve you, there is a certain sense of selfishness that is required to choose yourself. And that is why this Aries Libra energy is so interesting to me and so important for all of us. Again, because no matter how you feel, whether you feel like an extrovert or an introvert, whether you love people or have a close-knit circle, there is no avoiding yourself. There is no avoiding other people. And we can get in the cycle of doing that. We all have. I certainly have. And we live in a world that kind of encourages it, to not be thoughtful, to not invest in relationships. This really fucking toxic idea of being overly independent, of not placing the importance and the gift that being in community with others is. And it is sometimes so much easier to just be with yourself, right? It is so much easier to shut out, to not engage in, to not nurture a relationship, to be focused on me, 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 me. And like I said, there is a time and a place for that. But this Aries Libra energy, especially around this full moon we just had on October 6th, is an invitation to constantly be in that place of balance is action. And this full moon in particular, an Aries full moon, is not subtle. It is not going to be a warm blanket. It is going to feel, especially if you have Aries, Libra placements, especially if you feel really attuned or affected by full moon energy. Full moons are a time for release, a time for letting go. A full moon in Aries could inspire us to move with boldness and clarity. And it really brings us up against those parts of ourselves where we continuously hold ourselves back, where we continuously wait for the perfect moment, where we continuously say, next week, next month, next year, let me wait for the right time. And in a society that makes us believe that we have to wait for the right moment, for the right job, for more money, for the right person, that, that the perfect circumstances when you need to make the move, Aries says, well, that's bullshit. That's not real. That's not true. I see your right moment, your more money, your desire to be more ready. And I say, there's no more waiting. What if, even in your messiness, even in your impulsivity, even in your bold action, that especially if that feels outside of the box for you, what if you decided this Aries full moon, no more waiting? Courage first, trust first, forgiveness later. Ask for forgiveness, not permission. And that's a bold statement, but I've been saying this for a few minutes now. Aries energy requires boldness, courage, action, desire. Trusting that you don't need to have it all figured out to make the move. Whether it's a literal move, whether it's a move in a job, leave the relationship, start the relationship, express how you feel, share your gift, your action, your desire with the world. Begin, initiate. There is no time like the present to become who you are. And there is no time like post-eclipse season to find that new grounding, that new energy, to ask yourself, okay, before these last 6 weeks, I have the chance now to see, to review, to reflect, to recalibrate. Where was I giving my power away? in the name of just keeping peace, in the name of people pleasing, in the name of not rocking the boat? Where have I been too focused on my own stuff, on my own thoughts, on my own feelings, on my own experience, and not really nurturing my relationships? We play both sides here, right? What would my life look like if I could find a balance between my independence and my interconnectedness? The biggest lie, I'm coming back to this because I see it, I feel it, we're all collectively seeing it and feeling it more and more, is that hyper independence is going to get us what we want. We have never, and will never, because it's not working, lived in a society, lived in a world, forget society, lived in a world where we did not need each other. Ever. Ever, 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 ever. Whether it's to procreate, to start a family, to start a company, to start a community, to create a movement, to support others in need. Independence and standing in your ground and knowing what is right and true for you, Aries energy, is such a beautiful thing, because once you know who you are, once you give to yourself, once you fill up your cup, then you can do the same for other people. But this Aries full moon may have lit a fire in you to stop waiting for the perfect moment, to say the thing, to share your gift, to write the book, to make the film, to initiate that new initiative at your company. Initiate, you know. Or maybe it invited you to release those parts of yourself where you're people-pleasing, where you're playing small, where you're self-erasing, like I brought up earlier, that part of you that feels the need to swallow, to be small, to sacrifice, to be in relationship to other people. So it can go a lot of ways here. But again, Aries and Libra season is always going to bring up relationship. And Libra New Moon on October 21st, right as Libra season is ending, I think it's really special and beautiful in some ways that now we're going to be experiencing the new moon energy, the season energy at the end of a season. So we have a lot of time to really marinate it and be in it. And like I shared earlier, high vibe, fully realized Libra energy is focused on collaboration, community, relationship, fairness, balance. Those darker tones are manipulation, codependency, people-pleasing, avoidance, self-sacrificial energy, right? And when Libra energy goes too far, you might find yourself, saying yes when you mean no, keeping quiet to avoid conflict, shape-shifting to match other people's energy. Not just their energy, but more to the darker tone of Libra is to match who you think they want you to be. To sacrifice those parts of yourself that say, it's more important to me to be in good graces with this person or to be good with this person than to be true to who I am. So you might notice these cycles of yourself in Libra season, and especially around a Libra new moon. But after an Aries full moon, of that really being in our power, in our energy, our initiator of rocking the boat a little bit, maybe. I don't intentionally mean to do it, but I am a Mars and Aries gal. So, you may have experienced that from me. And I love you and I won't apologize. But the new moon in Libra after a full moon in Aries wants us to understand that finding our peace, finding our balance, finding our grounding and our connection is not about escaping, eliminating, avoiding the shit. Life's challenges, life's trials and tribulations. It's again about how can we change our mindset to how we meet them. I think one of the biggest disservices that we as human beings have come into in our lives, I do it, I think it's an ego thing again, is this part of ourselves that thinks a good life means a life that is free from pain, free from anger, free from challenge, free from heartbreak or heartache, free from struggle. And that is not to romanticize those aspects of life at all. I am really myself even working on what I still believe has to be hard or challenging. But I mean, thinking that, or maybe being arrogant enough sometimes, right? My own arrogance to think that I could escape these aspects of life, that I could escape loss and grief and hurt and pain. A sign of a good life is not a life that is free from pain. It's how we come into relationship. Again, not just relationship with other people, but relationship to our life, relationship to the shit that is hard, relationship to the challenges, and how we react to them. It's not about escaping or avoiding or manipulating ourselves or other people to be good all the time, to be happy all the time. That's not real. It's not possible. And I certainly got caught up in that in my early spirituality healing journey of like, I always had to be good. I always had to be happy. I always had to be loving. And, coming back to feelings like anger or pain or grief or hurt. Our society does not see those as good feelings, but there are no good or bad. There are no right or wrong. So how can you see possibility instead of avoid it? How can you let yourself be in healthy relationship to the pain, the hurt, the anger, the grief? The same way you want to be in healthy relationship to the love, the joy, the freedom, the power, the passion, the peace. Lots of peace, but you know what I mean? How can you trust the process instead of trying to control, manipulate every outcome? The magic of, again, Libra and Aries energy. It is not about this or that, right or wrong. It's about both. It's not asking you to be perfect, which can be sometimes an undertone, a darker tone of Libra energy. It's asking us to continuously check back in, recalibrate, reassess, recenter ourselves, to always be in that state of action a little bit. Where am I in balance? Where am I out? Choosing continuously what feels like balance to you over the chaos of shrinking, adjusting, manipulating, being good, the anxiety of having to please everyone else. And it's healthy to want to please your partner, your friends, make them happy, make them feel loved, make them feel safe. That's healthy. That's I think a normal desire. I think it's a sign that you are good. You are a good human. You have good intentions. But it's kind of about rewiring our mindset around what peace, balance actually is, what calm is. We get caught up in this loop that if we get angry, if we feel upset, if we get thrown off course, if we get thrown off base, if we have a shitty day, that all the work goes out the window. That suddenly all the work we've been doing to change our mindset, change our negative self-talk, stop judging, stop complaining, that one bad day, one hard moment, one unexpected challenge throws it all out the window, right? And I find that Aries Libra energy, more than any other duo in the zodiac, again, it is not one or the other, it's both. It's not this or that. It's not right or wrong. It's not about me or you. It's about this and that. It's about me and you. And a constant, continuous willingness to be open to what needs to shift, what can change. To understand that to a certain extent, the experience of being human is to be in that state of action, of that willingness to meet the challenge, to meet the hard moment, and understand that, yes, you do have a choice of how you see it, of how you approach it, of how you move through it. And the feelings that come up, just like our thoughts that come up, can you allow yourself to move through them? Can you allow yourself to feel them and then let them go and not define your experience and who you are and the work that you've done? Libra Aries energy, whether it's in Aries season or Libra season like we're in now, it's knowing who you are. It's knowing what you want. It's knowing what is best and right for you. It's knowing your moral compass, what you will stand for, what you won't stand for, especially in this world, Aries energy. And also knowing when you're willing to make adjustment, when you're willing to choose peace over chaos, when you're choosing to see beauty over cynicism, when you know you are open, available enough to collaborate, to be in community, to create with others, to trust that it is not just hyper-individualism or completely being a sheep, right? Those extreme versions of Aries and Libra energy, right? Those darker tones of just being a yes person and then being so in that individuality that you sacrifice, you burn bridges, you fuck up your relationships. These extremes exist in everything. And the more we can understand that, the more we can free ourselves of having to always be one way, to be the scales, to constantly, continuously, if constant doesn't feel like the right word for you, just to continuously be aware, to create the awareness. And to that super, super hyper individualistic person, to that deep introvert, to that person who sees themselves as a lone wolf, who's listening to this, who finds this. I get it. I do. I have those moments. I'm going through a little bout in therapy where, I'm coming up against some Aries Libra qualities and in myself and how I feel and my desire to want to be the most important person to just somebody, just one person. And if you feel like you're better off alone or you see yourself as a lone wolf, I understand why you feel that way. And to the person who's maybe listening and feels like they constantly have to be surrounded by people and, be in good graces with other people, I feel that in a very real way myself. But how can you, even just for Libra season, my lone wolves especially, how can you find a little bit more balance with community, with putting yourself out there, with finding the opportunity to collaborate, with trusting that not everyone is out to get you. Not everyone thinks that you're better off alone, that there's someone or some group of people out there that will be infinitely better to be in community with you, that would be infinitely more rich and full from your wisdom and your energy. And if you sway to the other side of the scales, thinking that you have to constantly be in community, be with others, be good with other people, people please, sacrifice these parts of yourself, erase these parts of yourself. What if over these few weeks of Libra season, you just took a step back, you spent a little bit more time with you and trusted that your intentions are enough. Your desire to be good, to be a good person, to do good in the world, you do not have to push it or force it, that people will see that, the right people will see that and know. And again, I've said it many times and I'm going to say it one more time. How can you remember that balance is an action? That no matter what you do in this life, we will never avoid that reflection, continuous invitation to be in relationship to yourself and to be in relationship to others. And to me, life is worth living because of us, because of you, because of me, because of the relationships that we create with ourselves and with other people. And that's why I think Aries and Libra energy is so powerful, is so potent. And even if you have no placements in your chart, like I always say, there is a part of your chart that is ruled by Aries and Libra. The way you can go about finding that is, if you know your rising sign, pull up your birth chart, open an app, download the Chani app for the free week or the Pattern, my two favorite apps. Please sponsor me or give me a link from my people. And you can look up your birth chart. If you don't know your birth chart at all, DM me. We can take a peek at it together, or you can download one of those apps too. And as long as you have your birth date, you're as close to your exact time as you can get, and the location you were born, the city, the town, you'll be able to find that. And then you can look at the parts of your chart that are ruled by Libra and Aries, and what parts are those? What do they bring up? What do they invite in? For me, it's the 5th house of creativity, pleasure, love, play, the 11th house of community, friendship, networking. And you can just pay attention to how those parts of your chart come up during this season, what you're being invited to balance, where you're being invited to really stand your ground, to be in that deep knowing of who you are, and where you're being asked to collaborate and create and be in community. And I think when we talk about relationships, there's been this trope of relationships require compromise and sacrifice. And I used those words for a long time. And then I listened to a Jay Shetty podcast, and whatever your feelings are about him, I embrace them all. But I really like this idea that it's not so much sacrifice and compromise, but adjustment or abandonment. And maybe to some of you, that word abandonment feels even more extreme, but like, where are you willing to adjust to be in relationship to the people you love, the people you admire, the people you want to be in community with? And where does it feel like you're abandoning yourself? And that's a little sobering of an idea or a word, but that part of you, that Aries energy, that Aries full moon that's asking you to release the self-abandonment, to release that part of you that only wants to keep the peace. And the adjustment, that Libra energy, where you're willing to adjust and grow and change, and trusting that like an adjustment allows more space. And those are my thoughts, feelings, ideas about this season, this Libra, Aries portal. And we come up against it every year, so it's not a one and done. And any feelings of perfectionism or needing to get it right, can you remember it's not this or that, it's both. It's either or. It's self and other, not one or the other. But I hope you found this helpful and supportive. If you need any additional support, please reach out to me. The Libra season playlist is in the show notes, along with some extras, a discount on your first birth chart reading with me, some links that I mentioned for those apps that I love, that I find to be incredibly comprehensive, supportive to anyone, wherever you're at in your astrology journey. Thank you for listening. I hope you find time for yourself this season to get grounded in that energy, and also to love and connect and ground into your sense of community. Thank you again for listening. I'll be back again in 2 weeks' time with an interview episode with a very special guest, one of my best friends, favorite people in the world, Mr. Eden Mary Show. Thank you for listening. I can't wait to breathe in and scream out with you again very soon.